Hello, everybody. First of all, Merry Christmas. I hope you are with your families, of course, in quarantine, but having a nice time. Today, I bring you, and I think this is super appropriate to celebrate Christmas, an interview about the Amazon River Dolphin with Susanne Smith from the Amazon River Dolphin Foundation. Welcome, Susanne. It's a pleasure to have you here today with us.
Hello, Fabricio. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited to be with you.
Me too. Well, people, let's give Susanne the opportunity to give us an introduction about the foundation, about herself, and a little background story on her and her profession. You can go on, Susanne.
Okay, so I have been working with marine mammals mostly for over 30 years at different zoos and aquariums all over the United States and in Peru. And many years ago, I had the opportunity to go to Brazil with another conservation project. And even though this conservation project was working on fish, because my experience is with marine mammals, I heard about these Amazon river dolphins and I became fascinated. And I had to find them and learn more about them. And when I went back to Brazil about 6 years ago, I found out that the Amazon river dolphin is really in a lot of trouble. And because of all of my experience with marine mammals, I knew that I could somehow help. So I created the foundation and I have been going to Brazil multiple times every year, except for 2020 because of our pandemic. But we are working very hard to save the Amazon river dolphin.
I really appreciate that, really. You know, uh, I don't have a lot of experience in this, but you are the first foundation I find that works specifically with this species. And also, you know, South America, the toninas or boros, they are also called like that in Portuguese and in Spanish, they have had like a special place on my heart. It's a dream of me to see them alive, or not alive, not alive, but in the wild, or to see them, you know.
Yeah.
And also, now that you tell us about this and how you started like knowing them and wanted to learn, that's super wonderful story. Well, now that you have told us about it, what made you decide to help the Amazon River dolphin? Or what made you create this foundation? What is your passion on this wonderful species?
So there were a lot of reasons, Fabrizio. So I have worked with bottlenose dolphins mostly for over 30 years. And everybody loves bottlenose dolphins. But the first time I saw the Amazon river dolphin, they were so unique. They were so different looking, and just everything about them just really struck my curiosity. And then when I found out later about the different challenges that they have in the Amazon River with deforestation, habitat destruction, overfishing, pollution, all of these things that we hear about all over the globe, the Amazon River dolphin has to face every single one of those things every day. So I really wanted to find out what we could do to help save them. At the time when I started the foundation, because they are so difficult to study and not many people study them, no one really knew how many there were, but we just discovered that in 2018, they were listed as an endangered species on the IUCN Red List. So we work really hard now in a lot of different capacities to try to conserve the Amazon River dolphin and its entire environment and its entire ecosystem.
Oh, of course, and well, with the update released by the IUCN Red List group, I think it was last month, the Tucuxi, which was the last freshwater dolphin species not assessed by the IUCN, was declared endangered, and that makes all the species of freshwater dolphins in the world threatened. The ones in Asia, the ones here in Latin America. So, yeah, it's really sad to hear about this, and even more because, well, I I will not post it yet. It is Christmas. I will probably post it on January or at the end of December. I had an interview with another wonderful person, Christina Harumi. She is from Brazil and manages a big wildlife rescue, Mata Ciliar. So we talked about all of this that Susan is mentioning, and it's very sad to hear that, you know, this is not only as affecting one species, one environment. This is affecting everything overall. And we need to stop it. We need to do something. And that's what this channel is for, to encourage you to take the lead, do the change, and try to do something for your local wildlife and for our planet. Suzanne, yes, that's something that also makes me bring the different conservationists, which is the threat these animals are suffering. There are animals that live in such difficult environments, difficult in the sense of that they are so threatened that even with just a blow or with just a disaster or something, they could disappear from Earth. And that's the
Absolutely.
importance of protecting them. So that's another reason why I really value your work of your foundation.
Thank you so much. And I'm really glad that you mentioned the Tukushi because when we started our field work and we were doing population surveys with the Amazon River dolphin, we would see Tukushi all the time. So our first summer doing the population surveys, we only counted Amazon River dolphins. But the following year, when we went back, we usually spend anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks out in the field. And when we went back the following year, I thought to myself, well, we see the Tukushi everywhere we go, so we might as well start counting them as well. So we have 2 years of data on the population surveys of not only the Amazon River dolphins, but we started with the Tukushi as well. So we started to get some numbers and collect some data on them.
And what can you tell us about that numbers? You know, I'm very interested in that population surveys you do because we can see the real extent of the damage with that surveys onto the population. So what are the numbers or what are the percents of the population?
So in 2017 was the first year that we did a population survey with just the Amazon River dolphins. And then in 2018 and 2019, we were able to count the Tukushi as well. And we were starting to see a decline in both species over both years. However, 2 years does not make a scientific trend. So that's why this year would have been very important to collect that data. But obviously we could not go back this year, but we are looking forward to going back next year and doing an even bigger population survey for both the Amazon River dolphins and the tucushi, and possibly doing 2 next year. Because typically we do our population surveys in high water, but we're hoping next year that we can do high water and low water.
Awesome. That sounds really awesome. And well, it would really help because, like in a same year doing such a big count of that would really mean something for the species, at least in that zone. Well,
Yes,
not
absolutely.
talking about that, I have heard that you work on the Rio Negros area, specifically in the Amazonas state, Brazil. So, uh, also, I've known that one of the not the main threats or reasons of decline of this species, but a big one, a huge one, is the paracatinga fishing. What can you tell us about it?
That is correct. So fortunately, it has not started in the Rio Negro. And that's why conservation education is so important for our project. But further north on the Amazon, there is a catfish called the piracichinga. And in that area of the Amazon, the fishermen will go ahead and they will kill Amazon river dolphins, and they will use them as bait to catch the Amazon river dolphin. It's very sad, and it has been estimated in some very small areas that there are upwards of 2,000 river dolphins that are killed every single year in just one small area. So back in 2015, there was a big campaign, and it was publicized heavily on their national TV. And fortunately, it got enough attention that the laws changed, and there was a moratorium put into place that this was illegal, that they couldn't fish for piracichinga, which meant that they weren't going to hunt and kill the river dolphins. And that moratorium was supposed to be in place for 5 years while everyone kind of came up with new ideas and kind of came up with ways that they could fish sustainably and do other things. So that moratorium was to expire almost a year ago. It was December 31st, 2019. And we all thought, all of the researchers, wherever we are in the world, and the people that work with the Amazon River dolphins, and especially in Brazil, we really hoped and we really thought that since the moratorium was in place, that it would just be extended. But what
Exactly.
happened is they lifted it. So now it is legal for people in the area to go ahead and fish for the piracichinga. And again, it is causing them to hunt and kill the Amazon River dolphin so they can catch this catfish.
Oh, that's very bad news, actually.
It is
And
very bad news.
and also the figures you mentioned, 2,000 river dolphins killed per year. That's if we count 10 years, that's a lot of Amazon river dolphins. And
Absolutely.
and in here is that we can really say if if this trend continues or increases, this species might go extinct at least in that zone in less than what we think.
That is absolutely correct, Fabrizio, because at that rate, at that number, that is not sustainable for that species. And we could potentially lose the Amazon river dolphin just because of that fishing practice.
Oh, that's awful news, really. And
It is.
and well, no, I will wait to the final because I gotta say something about this video. The other reason why I decided to post it on Christmas. There are two reasons, but well, I'm gonna say it at the end of the video. Let's continue learning about this super interesting species. Well, Suzanne, I have also seen in your website that you do expeditions to see the dolphins in the wild, right?
Yes. Yes. Maybe you can come with me someday.
I would love
we
to.
we usually try to do 2 groups per year. And we take upwards of 20 people at one time, and we stay on a boat on the Amazon for 10 days. And I take everyone, I take all of the participants to the conservation areas and our research areas where we work with the Amazon River dolphins. But there's so much more, right? So I take you to different areas of the Amazon River. We go fishing for piranhas. We go snorkeling, and you can see these beautiful ornamental fish that sometimes you see in an aquarium. We see them, they're beautiful, and we can see stingrays and electric eels. And then it's not just about the river, right? So we go on hikes. We take people into the Amazon rainforest, and we do hikes, and we look at all of the different trees and all of the different plants, and we see so much wildlife. We see so many sloths. Oh, so many sloths. And monkeys, all kinds of monkeys. We see red howlers and black howlers and squirrel monkeys and capuchins. It is really a wonderful trip. So yeah, we stay right on the boat for 10 days, and we bring little canoes with us so we can get into the forest that way too.
That sounds awesome, really, and also uh, to my viewers, if you wanna meet or wanna go to the Amazon rainforest one day, well, here's your chance.
Yes.
Also, I imagine that the people snorkel in piranha-free areas, right?
You know, the piranhas get a very bad reputation, but there are many different species. But we've had some very brave people on our boat that have been in the water with piranhas, and they have not had a problem. But sometimes they're just really small and they don't cause too many problems. But I don't want to go swimming with piranhas.
Me neither. But okay, but yeah, imagine one little piranha. But when there are like 50 of those little piranhas, that's
No, thank you.
well. Now that we mentioned this, what is the food of Amazon River dolphins? I think they ate a species of fish in particular, right? Or some species of fish.
Fabricio, they actually eat upwards of 40 to 50 different species of fish in the river. And what's really cool about the Amazon River dolphin that makes them different from all the other dolphins is they have 2 different types of teeth. So they have the really pointy teeth, the cone-shaped teeth. You see those in the front, but in the back, they have spade-shaped teeth, like porpoises have. And the reason for that is because river dolphins do eat those big armored catfish, but they've also been known to eat turtles. So they need those flat teeth in the back of their mouth to crush the hard armor of the catfish, or to crush the hard shell of the turtles.
Wow.
Pretty cool, huh?
Super cool indeed. And well, I wouldn't think that a dolphin would eat turtles, Uh, in the wild, well, not in the wild. I mean, the other dolphin species, and that's actually something that makes them so different and so special. That's yeah, most of the species of dolphins are saltwater dolphins, and they eat well the common things like fish or sometimes crustaceans. But when you learn about this, that's where it goes interesting. Also,
Yes.
I know that freshwater dolphins are actually more closely related to melon-headed whales, right? Than
Very good.
dolphins. So probably that could make the resemblance of their teeth and of their food patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And oh no, yeah, I'm learning a lot, as well as I think my viewers will be learning a lot with this video and are learning a lot with this video.
Good. That makes me happy to hear.
Well, continuing, what is the current distribution of the Amazon River dolphins? Because in the zone where you are, the subspecies is, their scientific name is Inia Geoffrey. I don't know how to pronounce that. Can you pronounce? Geoffrensis. That's the one in there.
Very good.
And well, what can you tell us about subspecies distribution and some resemblances and differences between the different subspecies?
Yeah, some of them look they generally look pretty similar, but depending on where they are, for example, one of the subspecies is in Bolivia. And that came from a discovery not too many years ago. But the river dolphins where we are, we can find them in all different types of areas, and that's one of the reasons that it's really difficult to study them, because we all know that the Amazon is huge, right? And you can't even imagine it until you are there and you are sitting in a canoe on the Amazon River. You can't even begin to imagine how gigantic it is. And then, of course, they have the Amazon rainforest. So the dolphins can actually swim inside of the Amazon rainforest when the water is really high. So it can be very difficult to find them, because there's all these little tributaries and all these little tiny rivers off of the main river. So you can really find them in a lot of different areas on the Amazon.
Well, and actually, I believe that this is kind of a difficulty for the counting, right? Because as there are too many tributaries of the Amazon, that you don't know where to go, or yeah.
Exactly. And that's why my assistant down in Brazil, he is Brazilian and he grew up on the river. And it always amazes me how the Brazilians and the people of the riverside communities, how they can navigate the river and the forest, just like when I walk in the city and we have street signs and different landmarks. That's how these people can go through their Amazon rainforest, but there are no street signs. So it's very fortunate for me that I have a Brazilian team down there that knows all of these little areas that we can go to so we can find all of the river dolphins.
Well, now that you mention it, actually, in a forest like the Amazon, it is quite confusing to know the correct way. But for example, if you pay very close attention to the place, you can see, like you say, the landmark. For example, a big round tree. You know that big round tree, it's one tributary, and then there's a weirdly shaped rock. That's
yes.
Paying attention to the little things that make that area unique or different from the others. So,
yes, that is exactly right, Fabricio. And of course, now that I have been going down there so often for so many years, I've learned a lot of these little tricks and these things that maybe someone from the city doesn't think of as a landmark, but you do. You start to recognize a dead tree over here, or you start to recognize a rock that has a very distinct shape over here. And when you see the rock, maybe you go to the right and you can find another area. So I've started to learn all of these things from the Brazilians down there.
Yeah, this is about learning, about adapting, about of course, with all the years you have been to the same area, also it will be easier more and more. But yeah, this is super interesting. Well, other things about the Amazon River dolphins. in something that I would like to learn more because I feel I feel this will be very interesting. The behavior of the and their echolocation.
So their echolocate, if you have seen pictures, and I'm sure you've seen pictures, and I know you have been on our website, and you can see how tiny their eyes are. Their eyes are very different from, but especially in the Rio Negro, the water is so dark that they tend to rely more on their echolocation. And especially because when they are swimming in the forest. So here is another fun fact for you. The Amazon River dolphin has an unfused neck vertebrae, which is different from all the other dolphins. So because they do travel into the Amazon rainforest during high water, they need to be able to navigate in and around all of the trees. So they can turn their head almost 180 degrees so they can get around in the forest.
Wow, that that really sounds very interesting, and also that that makes me think very very some in some things, like well, I just imagine it and it seems you know like out of this plan. It's very interesting. Also, what you mentioned about their collocation. Is it true that they can, with their collocation, find groups of fish or groups of prey, let's say it like that, when they are hunting or searching for food?
Yes, absolutely. There have been many studies done with cetaceans over the years. And did you know that dolphins can differentiate between a dime and a penny buried in the sand?
Wow.
Cool stuff, huh?
Of course, this is very cool. And also, what you mentioned, I have heard a lot about that researches.
Mhm.
There in Florida, there are several marine labs where they have
Yes,
told it is the Clearwater Marine Aquarium, I think. There's
yes.
uh, there are others in other parts of the country,
Mhm.
and the research being done on dolphins, it's superb. They are, and that's another thing. In the mind of most people, they catalog dolphins as intelligent, but there are others that don't think so. And for me, dolphins are very intelligent. They can. I think that we sometimes underestimate them, and that if we gave them more, like a chance, they could prove us wrong, and they could do things that you know a human would do.
Yes, I tend to agree with you, Fabricio. I think they are very fascinating creatures.
Well, not entirely related to the river dolphin, but I've heard that you helped several animals during the 2010 Deepwater Horizon oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. Wow, that's that's amazing. How was that experience?
Oh, it was very difficult at times. I was the marine mammal and sea turtle stranding coordinator in the state of Louisiana, and we had hundreds of different endangered sea turtles, and we also had some common dolphins. We had some bottlenose dolphins that had been covered in oil and that had stranded during that time. So it was very difficult work, especially um, seeing a sick animal is always really difficult, but that you are there to do absolutely everything for them. So I used to leave a sleeping bag in my office, and sometimes I would sleep in my office overnight because we just had so much work to do. And you know sometimes when dolphins come in, they are not strong enough to keep themselves up in the water. And dolphins are conscious breathers, which means they think about every single breath that they take. Like you and I, we just keep breathing, right? When we sleep, we just keep breathing. Dolphins don't do that. They work differently. So there would be times when we would have to be in the water for 24 hours at a time, holding dolphins up so that they could have their blowhole out of the water so that they could breathe.
Wow.
But with all of the sea turtles, they were all released back into the Gulf of Mexico. In some cases, some of them got very healthy in just a few months after a lot of intensive care. Some took a little bit longer, some took upwards of a year, but they were all released. And that's such a wonderful feeling that even though it was really hard work and it was really sad to see them so sick and debilitated, but we released all of those turtles back into the Gulf of Mexico. So all of those endangered species are all thriving. And in some cases with the dolphins, depending on their age or their size, in our case with Deepwater Horizon, the dolphins that came in during that time, they were deemed as non-releasable. So they live at various marine parks or aquariums in the United States. One is actually not too far from me in the next state. So I get to go visit my old friend every now and again, and it's wonderful. So those places have provided those animals with a wonderful forever home, and they will always have all of the food that they need. They will have all of the health care that they need, and a lot of human interaction and a lot of toys to play with. So those animals would not have survived, but now they have a wonderful home and will.
And that is the feeling that really defines what is important, why is important the things you are doing. And that same feeling you can find it on Christmas Day, because the other interview I will be posting on Christmas Day is the second part of the series, the only and elusive Pygmy Hog, which was with filmographer Daniel Craven, which made the first ever created documentary of pygmy hogs in India. And in there, in the second episode, we will be talking about what is that feeling that Susan said, but what is the feeling of Daniel, and when he was at the release of the 100th pygmy hog into the wild in Assam. So hope you stay tuned. At least, well, we have two interviews, one in Christmas Eve and one in Christmas Day. So I think you should be happy, very happy. Well, yeah, Susan, I also feel the same, like uh, it is a bit different, but some days, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I rescued a kitten, you know. I don't know what happened to the kitten. I mean, like, the mom abandoned him, but
Mhm.
he was in my backyard for 2 days without mom, with nobody, and only meowing, like meow, meow, And I took it in. We clean it, we put it,
Mhm.
and we gave him in adoption. And it was for us kind of a miracle. And that feeling of we did something right today. In less than 2 hours after we took it, somebody came, we posted on social media like, who would like a kitten? It is adopted, and he went to his forever home, and it was like
Yay.
such so relieving. It's a relief that he will go to a good place, and that he doesn't live on the streets like his parents or where he was born. Yeah,
And you did that. You did that.
yeah, along with my family. Yeah,
That's wonderful. And now that kitten will grow up to be a very well cared for and loved adult cat, and he will live a very nice long life.
exactly. Well, Suzanne, now that the purpose of this video has been said, that it is to raise awareness and to keep informing people on the lesser known species of our world. What can you tell us about the focus of your foundation on raising awareness and educating local people on the Amazon freshwater dolphin? I mean, like, um, how do you educate the local people on the Amazon River dolphin and all of that?
Mhm. So, when I first started to go out on the river and really spend a lot of time in the canoe, I started to go into all of these different riverside communities, and people started to know me and recognize me. And I took the time to sit with all of these communities and meet all of the families. And every single one of them has been so delightful and so welcoming. And they've really become friends and family to me. And it was really important for me that the people believed in this project, because if they don't believe in the project, then the project isn't going to go very far on its own. So even though I am here in the United States, I travel down to Brazil multiple times during the year, and I do have team members here in the United States, but the big part of my team is right in Brazil. Um, and so as they have come to know me and learned that I am there, I'm really just there to help them. Um, I don't try to take over. I don't try to tell them what they are doing is wrong. I spend a lot of time learning about them and learning about their culture and why they might fish for a particular species of fish. So for example, with the Piracichinga, so even though that is not happening in the area where I work, we do have Piracichinga, but they don't fish for it that way there. Um, but wouldn't it be really great if we could come up with a way? And we've started these talks. I have a lot of great friends down there that work in the fishing industry. So I've started some of those talks with some of those people. So how do we farm raise Piracichinga? So people can still have the species that they want. They can still get the money from selling the fish so they can support their family, that doesn't impact either the dolphin species or the Piracichinga species. Wouldn't that
Exactly.
be wonderful? So that's what conservation education is all about. And we're starting to do that. And so the same thing goes for just when we're talking about the river dolphins. So when I am out doing my population surveys, I also have hydrophones. So we collect a lot of audio samples. We have a
Oh,
lot of
cool.
sounds that we can hear. And sometimes when I'm with the folks from the Riverside communities, if someone is nearby, I let them put in my earphones and I let them listen when I have the hydrophone in under the water. And that's been really new and interesting and exciting for them. And they get really excited about it. And then I can teach them about echolocation and why they hear those clicks and why they hear those whistles. So they're starting to learn about the Amazon River dolphin. And, like all of us, anywhere you are in the world or with any species, the more you learn about something, the more you're going to love it and the more you're going to want to learn how you can help. And that is really what has been happening down in the Rio Negro.
Exactly. And also what you mentioned, and it's something very important in conservation that many people should apply today, many conservationists and biologists. And it is that we need to involve the local communities because sometimes they are the key to the protection of that species or to the or to the aid of that species because for example as you said most of your team is in Brazil as well as in United States, but if something happens today in Brazil you have the local people, you have your team in there that is going to do everything they can to improve the situation. And yeah, that's a very part that I really like about this foundation, because in difference with others that are more like, we come here to help because the local people didn't, and you need to both sides, you know what I mean, like, yeah.
Absolutely. That's
Well,
so important. We all, we can only save a species together.
exactly. Also, well, I would like to say that I'm really glad that you accepted, even if it was like a very fast this interview. But really, I'm learning a lot. I'm feeling that, well, we're raising awareness. We are just having a fun chat about this animal, and we're keeping on, and also I'd love to do more videos with members of your foundation, because yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm loving it, really.
Oh, good.
And well, we're in the moment that I don't really want this interview to end, really. But well, one last question: how is apart from the moratorium, how is the government supporting the project or supporting the Amazon River dolphin?
So we work closely with a lot of different people down in Brazil, and not only just the riverside communities, but we work with researchers. We work with folks at the universities. We work with local, state, and federal governments as well, because that is also very important. For the same reason why it's important to work with riverside communities, the data that we collect with the researchers, and especially if we're all in different areas, we can collect the data from our areas and come together and give a complete comprehensive report about what we're learning out in the field. And it's not just the river dolphins. The river dolphins are a part of this big chain. And if the dolphins are unhealthy, then that's a sure sign that the river is unhealthy, which means the people are going to be unhealthy. So we work very closely with them. It's been another big part of, forming those relationships. And they are some of the best people, and I love working with them, and they have been wonderful. I love our partnership, and those people are very knowledgeable. So that works out really well, but the government definitely has its challenges down there, and there's not enough enforcement on the Amazon River. So it makes things very challenging, not only for the dolphins, but for all of the flora and fauna, all of the wildlife down there. So we just have to keep presenting the science and the data, and hopefully they will, the people who can change the laws and the rules and the regulations, hopefully they will follow that with us, and they will start to make some changes that they can make.
I hope so too, really. You know, um, with all that is happening in Brazil and in the entire world, it is really amazing that you're having success with your project and receiving the support of the local government. Really, yeah. And well, also, I would like to dedicate this video to the Duisburg Zoo, because they were the last two in Europe to have Amazon River dolphins, and recently they lost their last one. He was nicknamed Baby, but his real name was Orinoco. So all our thoughts go to the Duisburg Zoo and the staff that cared for Orinoco, or best known as Baby.
That was a great tribute, Fabricio.
Also, now that we are talking about this, I would like to ask Suzanne a bit about the breeding programs, the captive breeding programs. Have you thought of that, or like in the future? Because I know that in the past, For example, the last Amazon River dolphin in North America died in 2002 at Pittsburgh Zoo, and in Europe, well, yesterday. But is there any possibility that there could be done another captive breeding program for this species?
That's a great question, Fabrizio, and it's one that will definitely take a lot of thought and a lot of discussion going forward, because now there are no river dolphins in aquariums. There is one lone river dolphin at a facility in Peru. Um, but Duisburg Zoo was the last. And when the Amazon River dolphins were imported to the United States back in the 60s, they were very, very different from the common dolphin. And there was not a lot of success. You mentioned Pittsburgh Zoo, that was Chuckles. And Pittsburgh Zoo is very successful with Chuckles, and they had him for a very long time. And there were some other notable individuals, such as Chico from Shed Aquarium, and I know Aquarium of Niagara also had a river dolphin. They're very different. We've worked really hard in zoos and aquariums to understand bottlenose dolphins, common dolphins. We've done an amazing job learning about welfare and husbandry and how to best take care of animals, that species in human care. But river dolphins are a little tricky, and Duisburg Zoo obviously did a great job with their collection, but here we are at the end of the line. But there are some programs in Brazil. There are some areas where they have what is called platforms, and the public can go and interact with wild Amazon river dolphins. So in theory, over the years, something that we've all been taught is to not interact with wildlife, right? To leave those animals alone. But there are approximately maybe about 25 wild Amazon river dolphins that people can interact with. And I help work on this project as well, in how to best do that, how to best prepare the food. We have very strict guidelines at zoos and aquariums on the food that can be fed and how it needs to be prepared, how to monitor behavior, and how to cut down aggression, not only amongst the dolphins themselves, but towards people as well. And there are a lot of things that I see that I can help with. And if those regulations get fine-tuned, I think that's a wonderful way to preserve that species right there in Brazil without having to export river dolphins to zoos and aquariums somewhere in the world. But on the other hand, if people keep killing Amazon river dolphins for pyracochinga, or they keep dying because of pollution, or they're getting caught in gill nets, or they're ingesting plastics, I think there needs to be some serious consideration for what we're going to do. Because, for example, we have the vaquita porpoise. There are less than 15 animals, and there was a thought to try to take a couple in for under human care and try to see if they could kickstart the population that way. But that was a little too late. And I really think that we need to pay attention. We need to really pay attention what's going on with the Amazon river dolphin before we start getting really low numbers again. So I think there's definitely a way that we can preserve them, and see them up close and learn about them. That will help everything. But there's definitely going to be some big discussions.
Yeah, but for example, in this case, the vaquita porpoise, if we took, of course, the vaquita porpoises that were in captivity a long time ago didn't fare well. And many of the thoughts of the current conservationists focusing in them is that if they took they are estimated to be less than 30 in the wild. So if you take 2 or 10 of the vaquitas, it put them in captivity and they die, then the species will be worse than what it was. It is a great risk, but
Absolutely.
at this point, the Amazon River dolphin still has a chance to be protected, to do a comeback, but of course
Yes.
with the support of the people, with the support of the government and of conservationists like you. By the
Yes.
way, Suzanne, is the foundation receiving donations or are you in need of donations because of the pandemic?
Yes, absolutely. We were hit very hard this year because of the pandemic, and people can go ahead and make donations right through our website, and even online. We have a Facebook page, but all the donations can go right through our website, and that money goes towards all of our field equipment. It goes towards all of our cameras, so we can do photo identification. It goes towards the hydrophones. We started using drones 2 years ago too, because we're trying to see if we can use them. Because the water is so dark and the rainforest is so big and it's so thick. So we had the idea to maybe see what it would look like using a drones for population surveys, but also to study behavior. Where are these animals going? Are they hunting together? Do they stay in small groups? Where are they having their babies? No one knows in this area. So
Exactly.
we've been using drones. So all of the money goes towards all of these different projects, all of the different equipment. It goes to staffing our Brazil team. So that's really helpful too, especially when they have financial hardships. It's nice that we can support them and we can provide some jobs down there.
Exactly. Really good indeed, the focus of the foundation. And what people now you heard, I will link you the website, donation webpage, and social media of ARDCF down below, and you can donate. They are really doing a great work down there in Brazil. Well, Suzanne, now is when I ask you to give a last inspiring message for our viewers. What would you say about conservation? What do you think would be a good message to finish off this interview?
Well, I would like to add to something that you just said. You talked about the Amazon River dolphin. Yes, they are low in numbers. Yes, they are endangered, but they still have a chance, right? So that's why we need to act now. It doesn't mean we act 5 years from now. It doesn't mean we act 10 years from now when we only have 100 left. They're already endangered. They're already in trouble. So let's turn those numbers around. And there are things that people can do. Certainly, they can help donate to our foundation because that goes a long way down in the field. But there are so many simple things that we talk about all the time that people can just do in their daily lives. Just, their plastic use. There, I find balloons and plastics in the Amazon River in the middle, in this vast river and rainforest system. I find plastics, and that's so sad and it's so detrimental. But everybody can have an impact, because what's really fantastic and amazing about the Amazon is it has an impact on all of us. So even if you're from the riverside communities of the Rio Negro, or if you are somewhere on the other side of the world, you can and you should take care of the Amazon, because it takes care of our planet. So we all need to do our part.
It is the cherry on the top of the cake of this interview, Suzanne. Really wonderful message, and I hope that my viewers really take note and do something not only for the Amazon, but for the entire world. Because it is not only there that the environment is suffering, it is also suffering in Asia, in Africa, here in Central America, in Oceania. So really love this interview. This is a fun chat, people. So this is our third fun chat after the International Baboon Day fun chat with Crazy the Baboon, and the fun chat about the pink-faded armadillo with Mariela Superina. And also all the team, well, it is not a team, it's only me, but still, from Wild Interviews with Fabricio, would like to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We will bring you more interesting guests like Suzanne, more interesting animals to talk about, and hopefully more live animals in interviews, just to make it more lively and more funny. So, Suzanne, again, a pleasure to have you. I would love to do more events, more videos with you and with the members of your foundation. Really enjoyed this time and hope we can continue raising awareness about Amazon River dolphins.
We can definitely do that. It was such a pleasure to speak with you. You are an impressive young man, Fabrizio, and what you are doing is wonderful. Keep it up.
Thanks a lot, Suzanne. Well, Merry Christmas and hope you have a nice time. Bye.